Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Mind Interventions Australia. Today I want to take you on a journey where I will introduce you to yourself and the world of personal and professional possibility. I'm going to share some stories with you. I'm going to instill some hope in you. I'm going to try and elicit your dreams and try and determine some achievements and establish some goals. So let me ask you this. What mental image do you have of yourself? How do you really see yourself? Like, when you think about yourself, what do you think about most? Because the way you see yourself is going to determine what you're capable of achieving. And the bottom line is that you'll never be able to outperform your personal self-image. In other words, whatever you believe you are, whatever you believe you can do, whatever you think or choose to think of most often is going to be the limit of your possibilities. Because if you don't think you're good enough to do something, if you don't have enough faith in yourself, if you don't believe in yourself, if you don't have enough self-esteem, self-worth or self-respect, then you're not going to be able to achieve anything beyond what you've already achieved. So if we want to live in a world of fulfillment, I want you to think about this. In order to have a fulfilling career, a fulfilling life, a fulfilling relationship, whatever it is, then you're going to need to entertain 6 fundamentals. Those 6 fundamentals will determine whether you are actually living a fulfilled experience in that particular area of your life. And this will work for any area of your life. So if you want to look at career, business, finances, romance, relationships, health, well-being, sport, recreation, vacations, doesn't matter what you apply it to. If you really want to know whether you're meeting your level of expectation in terms of fulfillment, then there's 6 things you need to ask. And those 6 things are, you need to know that whatever you're doing gives you a sense of certainty. It gives you a sense of assurance that what you're doing is the right thing, that what you're doing is achieving everything you want to achieve, and it's going to give you the result that you're looking for. So it gives you peace of mind. The second one is a sense of significance. You have to feel significant in what you're doing. In other words, you have a sense of importance. You have a place, you have a purpose. And if you have that significance in place and you're achieving that in those respective areas of your life, then you can be confident that you will have not just the certainty, but you'll have the significance. So remember, the first one was certainty, which gives you that peace of mind. The second one is significance, which gives you that belief, that awareness that everything's in the right track and heading in the right direction. Because the third element to having a fulfilling life, or any element of your life, is to have a sense of variety as well. You need to have a sense of variety in your life that keeps things interesting and keeps things mixed up and keeps you searching for possibility and keeps you curious and keeps you interested and keeps you stimulated. Because without that variety, you're never going to be able to have any more than what you've already got. It's that simple. The fourth step is growth. We all need to experience growth. Doesn't matter what it is, personal or professional. If you're not growing, then you're slowly dying, you're slowly disintegrating, you're reducing in your potential, in your capacity, in your ability, in your opportunities, in everything that happens in life. So it's really important that you understand that not to have growth is to either be stagnating or literally dying. The fifth one is contribution. You need to make sure that you feel like you're contributing to something, to someone's life, to someone's enhancement, to a cause, to a need, to a purpose, to something that matters to you. Because if you're not experiencing any sense of contribution, then you've lost that purpose that we talked about earlier. And if you don't have that sense of purpose in your life, then you're not going to be able to pick up the things that you really want. So the last and final one is the sixth one, which is about love and connection. And it's generic in the sense, and we're not talking about love in just relationships, we're talking about feeling connected to someone, feeling important, feeling compelled to want to be with someone, share with someone, enhance their life, to create advantage and benefit and feel connected to them. And if you can go through this checklist and look at any area of your life and go, yes, 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 to all of them, then without doubt, you're in the right place. But what you find is most often that when you go through it in, say, life, if you say, do you have a sense of certainty in life, sense of significance, sense of variety, growth, contribution, love and connection, you'll quickly realize that there's a lack in there, and that's contributing to why you feel the way you do, which we're going to talk about in a minute. Now, there's 3 critical questions you have to ask yourself, and those 3 critical questions are: 1, how does your inner self-image impact your life? How does it impact your life? We're going to talk about that in a minute, because your self-image, as we said before, cannot be outperformed by your expectations. So your self-image is going to be the ceiling for what you're able to achieve at this point. And the only way to change that is to change your self-image. The second question we need to ask is, how was your self-image formed? Think about that for a moment. How was your self-image formed? Because most people don't have any idea. In fact, most people don't even ask the question. But in reality, it was formed. It was created. Those habits, those behaviors, that mindset has all been established through the process of time, situation, circumstance, events, experience, and indoctrination of different thoughts, different rules, different behaviors, hanging around in social groups. All these things contribute to the development of your self-image. And thirdly, how is your self-image changed? Which is the most critical thing we need to understand, because if we don't change the self-image, then we're not going to change the results we get. The only way we're going to get better results or change the results that we're getting is to change the self-image. So it's a bit of a paradox. So you have to decide in your own mind that what you want is not achievable given the state of mind that you have, or the mindset you have, or the self-image that you have, or the level of self-respect you have, or the level of self-worth that you have. It won't get you there. Wanting, wishing, desiring won't do it. You have to go through a mindset transformation. So what we're really saying here is that results reflect your mindset, your reality, and indeed your values. So it shows us who you are. Well, if you look around you, you look at your life, some people live in opulence, some people live in poverty, some people live on the breadline, some people are renting, some people have mortgages, some people just pay their bills when they're overdue, some people pay them up front, some people are in credit. So there's so many variables in there, and those variables are not by accident. That's by mindset. That's by altering your perspective on life. And that's what this program will teach you. In order to do that, we have to look at a few things. We have to be aware that we function on frequencies. What we mean by that, we have a resonance within us. We have a resonance that allows us to calibrate our circumstances, our situation, and certainly the way we feel about certain things. And that situation will be what causes us to change our feelings about things, to do things we wouldn't normally do, or to achieve things that we didn't think we could achieve, conversely. So you need to be aware that with this frequency, if you're not on the right frequency, if you're trying to achieve something at this level, this frequency, and you're resonating at this level, you're never going to get there. You've got to be able to raise this level to be able to achieve what you want. And the only way to do that is to alter your mindset, alter your understanding, alter your perspective. And what we're talking about here is paradigms, or establishing new behaviors, new habits, because normally it's those paradigms that limit us, that really keep us locked in this place of poverty, lack, and limitation, because we don't know any different. And it's like programming yourself, programming a computer. Once you put the program in, it will run automatically. It's a cybernetic. It's a bit like when a plane takes off from Sydney to LA. It doesn't just fly straight to LA, it calibrates all the way. There will be changes, there will be variations, there will be wind shifts, there will be turbulence, there will be things that knock it off course. And in order to stay on course, that cybernetic mechanism, or that paradigm in our case, is what's going to keep bringing you back. And it's going to keep bringing you back until you arrive spot on time and spot on your location where you need to be, in this case LA. So it's really important to understand that paradigms are the reflection of what your inner thinking is at a subconscious level. In other words, you're not even aware of it. But they can also be responsible for everything that you lack, for everything you haven't been able to achieve, for everything you haven't got. And it's not until you change these will your life begin to be seen differently, and your results will not change until you change those paradigms, those habits, those behaviors. So how do you do that? Well, you do it by having a deeper understanding. You do it by having a deeper level of awareness. You do it by having knowledge and experience. And if you haven't had anything other than what you've already got, then trying to achieve something that you've never had is going to be very difficult because you have no references for it. So you have to start aligning your thinking with the expectation you have. Now, I'm sure there's been a time in your life when you wanted a car, you didn't know what car, and then finally you decided, yeah, I'll have that type of car. And ultimately you got it, you achieved it because that's what you wanted, because the need was strong enough. You had enough emotional connection and attachment to that. And then you decided you'd go looking for that vehicle, you found the vehicle and you went, yeah, I like that one. And you ended up acquiring it, you ended up owning it. And that's because you got connected with it. That's because you started to focus your energy and attention on it. That's the sort of energy we need to have you realize in order to manifest a new state of mind, a new self-worth, a new self-image. So I just want to quickly explain the stick person to you. So there's a basic explanation. So this large circle represents the mind. This smaller circle represents the body. So we're going to look at this in a very fundamental sense. We're going to split the head in two, and we're going to show at the top level the conscious mind. So everything's coming in at this level. We're going to put the line through here, and we're going to have this lower level represent the subconscious mind. And what we wanted to do is understand that the conscious mind is the thinking mind, it's the intellectual mind, whereas the subconscious mind is the emotional mind. And it is very subjective. In other words, whatever you tell it to do, it will behave. It's a bit like the parent versus the child. And you have total control over that. By processing your thoughts at a higher level, you can alter the way you think and behave and the level in which you vibrate on. And the way we do that is we have receptors which are represented by things we can see, hear, smell, taste and touch. And we process those sensations through these filters into our subconscious mind. And once it's in our mind, it becomes an idea. We've captured an idea. And with that idea, we simply process it with our higher faculties. Now, what does that mean? Well, in other words, we use our higher faculties to determine or reason if it's going to be of value to us, because there's only two reasons we're going to use it. Two reasons that we will or won't use it. It's either going to be to gain pleasure or to avoid pain. And if we can do either of those by processing the new thought and incorporating that thought, then we're going to be quite satisfied with the result we get. So when we come in, as we said, we process it with our see, hear, smell, taste and touch with our filters, and then we process it with our higher faculties. And when we do that, we use our will, our perception, our imagination, our memory, our intuition, and indeed our reasoning to determine what it is we want, if this is going to be of value to us, if it's going to give us pain or if it's going to give us pleasure. And more often than not, if it's going to give us pleasure, obviously we're going to hang on to that thought. We're going to process that thought more often, more frequently, and ultimately we impress that thought upon the subconscious mind, which causes it to become part of our natural thought process and ultimately becomes a habit. In other words, we find ourselves daydreaming and thinking about those things all day long. And it's interesting when you understand that concept, because you'll find that you're able to look at life differently and you can shift the perspective on just about anything. And it's the opportunity you get when you do that to change your thinking, to change your results, which is what it really boils down to. So that's the stick person explained in fundamental. We've looked at the conscious mind. We understand that it's the thinking mind, the educated mind, the intellectual mind. That's this upper level. It's processed through a set of filters, which is what we see, hear, smell, taste and touch. And it's then evaluated using our higher faculties, which are our will, our perception, our imagination, memory, intuition and reasoning. So as we progress through this, we soon see that The conscious mind also provides us with the opportunity of choice, because we can accept or reject anything that we have in our minds, anything. So just for the process of evaluation, as I said before, normally it will be kept if it's desired. In other words, it's going to give us pleasure, or it'll be kicked out or rejected if it's going to give us pain, because no one really wants to endure any pain. So that's what the evaluation is. Is it going to give us pain? And that's where we start thinking, well, if it's going to give us pain, we don't want it. And we use that through the process of reasoning, which is, again, the higher faculties, which is all happening in this higher level, in this upper level of our intellect. Because once we're satisfied that we have something that works for us, something we're happy with, then we just drop it into the subconscious mind. We let it go into a state of gestation, which means it's going to grow and mature and basically become embedded in your process of thinking. And that process of thinking is going to become your actions and ultimately revealed in your behavior. That behavior is going to yield a set of results. Those results will be the reaction you get. That reaction will be the result of your thinking. Make sense? So we then want to look at the subconscious mind, because the subconscious mind is where the behavior lives. That's where the programming is embedded. That's where our instructions come from, even if we don't know that, because the subconscious mind must accept any instruction, order, or idea that it is given from the conscious mind. The conscious mind embeds those thoughts through the process of repetition and allows us to become aware that there are things that we truly desire. But it's not an intellectual awareness, it's an emotional awareness. And that emotional awareness is what gets us all excited and gets us inspired and gets us moving towards the thing that we want, because we have emotional connection to it, a deep emotional connection. And that's what allows you to have and do and be the things you want. So it can't reject, which is really important, because if you're going to keep thinking bad thoughts, if you're going to keep thinking depressive thoughts, if you're going to keep thinking dark, black thoughts, then that's what's going to be growing inside your subconscious mind. And that will manifest into something quite unpleasant, something that's not going to work, and certainly something that we spoke about earlier, which is not going to tick those 6 specific elements of your life, because it's a dark thought is not going to give you a sense of certainty, significance, variety, growth, contribution, and certainly no love and connection in that. So when you contrast it against that evaluation, you quickly realize that it's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to do anything. So the subconscious mind is often referred to as the emotional mind, or the heart of the matter. So when you take things to heart, it's not really meaning taking to the physical heart. It's taking to the subconscious mind, which is let it become part of you. Let it be processed through your intuition, through your thoughts, feelings, and that will ultimately become your actions, because you cannot determine or reason between what's real. The subconscious mind will never be able to tell the difference between what's real and what's not. It just believes that whatever it's being told by the parent or the conscious mind, that this is what's real, this is what has to happen. So this is how we start to manifest things we've never had. It might be a car, it might be a boat, it might be a house, something you've never had before. There was a point in your life where you never had any of those things, but there's a point progressively through life where you decide, I want this and I want that and I want to achieve this and I want to have that. And you actually go for it and you do everything you can to make it work, because you're persuading your subconscious mind to start believing that it's possible. And that's the key right there. You start believing that it's possible, then nothing's going to stop you. We're talking about results. We understand how the mind works. Now we want to understand about results, how our mind is programmed from day one. And what I mean by that is, from the minute you're born, your mind's being processed and evaluated with information that you have no idea about, none at all. You take a brand new baby born in the USA or Australia, wherever, take that baby to Hong Kong in China and raise it there, and it will be raised with a perfect dialect in Cantonese or Mandarin, Chinese, and it won't know any different, because that's how the mind gets programmed, through the process of repetition. And this is what you have to understand. In order to have what you want, you need to start reprogramming your mind. And the only way to do that is to keep reinforcing new thoughts on top of the old thoughts until the old thoughts lose their power, lose their strength, and dissipate and disappear. That's really how it works. but you have to keep the faith. You have to keep believing. So the results we're talking about are that you've been programmed from day one. So you're probably running programs that are very old, very antiquated, and in effect belonging to someone else, because they would have taught you what they thought was right or what they believed was right. What I want you to understand is that they can be dispensed with, they can be replaced, they can be upgraded, they can be rejuvenated or simply gotten rid of completely to give you a better opportunity at life, to a better opportunity to achieve the things you want. Because the reason you won't be achieving the things you want is because you're locked into a set of beliefs that are holding you ransom. They're not allowing you to think beyond where you're already at. They're allowing you to stay stuck, disenchanted, disenfranchised, disappointed, depressed, and not even knowing why. And that's the interesting part. Our paradigms are formed by the process of repetition. And we have separate groups of them that live inside our subconscious mind. Because a paradigm basically is a group of habits that collectively combine to give you a specific behavior. So in order to behave in a particular way, then you have to think a particular way, and that particular thinking is designed around a set of habits. So in order to be a good race car driver, you've got a particular set of habits where you work each day, you drive hard each day, you check the car, you do your study, you get your rest. They're all habits that go together to create the ultimate outcome. Same with a pilot or whatever skill set you might have. It allows you to have that through the process of combining all these habits into one little nucleus, which combined is recognized as a paradigm. And the paradigm is simply a collection of habits that has almost exclusive control over your behavior. And the reason I say almost exclusive is because there are opportunities when trauma or an emotional intense moment can alter your perspective very quickly. In fact, instantly. Death would be one of them. But for the most part, the results that you get will be designed around the paradigms that you have and reinforced by the thinking that you perpetually give yourself, and the belief you have about yourself. We want to look at a quote from Robert Hyland, which says, in the absence of clearly defined goals, we tend to make a mess of things, and we are enslaved by our thinking, and we don't expect anything more than trivia, because that's what we get, because our mind is not thinking beyond possibility, it's thinking to the ceiling of limitation. So you're not going to be able to have what you want because it's so used to resisting any growth, any development, any expansion, or anything similar. So to alter those results, we have to make sure that we engage the proper use of our higher faculties. And what that means is that when we do that, we engage our key higher faculties like reasoning and intuition. Memory is very important because we need to reflect on the past and learn from it. And we need to have a vivid imagination to enhance our creativity. And we need to be able to shift our perception. And we certainly need a will to drive ourselves and to keep us focused. And when you combine all those factors, those elements, then you'll be able to take control of your thinking. You'll be able to alter your perspective on life or the situation that you really want to work on most, and ultimately get a different result, different outcome. In saying that, we're initiating change, we're breaking down the paradigm, but how do we do that? Well, we've mentioned it already in the sense that we've said it's through the process of repetition. You have to design a whole new thought process. And whilst we don't have time to go into that right now, I can tell you that once you identify the things you don't want, then align that with the things you do want, then you simply need to eliminate the things you don't want. I know that sounds trite, it sounds fundamental, but that's really what it's about. In other words, give all your attention, all your energy, and all your inspiration, and all your perspiration to achieving the goal that you want, or goals. I would hope there was be multiple, because as you think about that, you'll keep reinforcing it by defining it, by writing it, by articulating it, by recording it, by listening back to it, by sharing it with someone who you trust and who will support your attempt to achieve this ultimate goal. Which brings us to the point where we're going to transition. We're transitioning out of the old into the new. This is all about change. So when we look at this, we've got to determine where you're at. So what level of commitment are you at? What level are you providing? Because there's 4 levels, and those levels will be determined by your mindset and your desire and the amount of emotional connection you have to the dream that you want or the goal that you want. Because fundamentally there are 4 stages of commitment we go through, and one of those is complacency, which most people are at. The majority of our population live in a place of complacency. In other words, accepting of what is, what will be, and they become tolerant of that. The next step is desire. You're starting to warm up to the idea at this point. You're starting to think, well, the dreams are not nice, and I like the idea of this, I like the idea of that, and having that would be nice, and achieving this would be great. And you start to get an emotional connection. You're starting to stimulate yourself. Because the third step is motivated. This is when you start to think, I've got to start doing something here. You might get a book and start reading. You might sign up for a course or a seminar or a coaching program like this one. Or you simply might just go out and do it. Just take action. That's when you're motivated. But then there's a level 4, which takes it right to the level of being obsessed, when you will do whatever it takes to achieve the thing you want. Nothing will stop you, nothing will get in your way, and nothing will hold you back. We want to talk about cybernetics because the best example of cybernetics, which is what we spoke about, the plane leaving from Sydney to go to LA, we said that the cybernetics are what keeps it on course. Even when it's knocked off course, the cybernetics are what bring it back on course. So in this case, it's a bit like the GPS. It gives us a track to follow, but more than GPS, it actually runs like an autopilot. You go off course, it pulls you back on course. And this is what we've got to educate our conscious mind to be doing, to encourage the subconscious mind to not be persuaded to fall back into old habits or bad habits that are going to be non-productive, disabling, and destructive to your outcomes. So self-image operates on a cybernetic mechanism, as we said. For example, we've used the plane, we've said that it leaves Sydney, go to LA, and it doesn't deviate, it doesn't change course. Self-image creates actions of the body. For example, a child's results at school will determine their self-image because they're measuring their performance based on an exam result or a simple test result. And that result will be something that is reflected by a number. But it's not a true reflection of the individual. It's a reflection of a moment in time where they worked hard, studied hard, or not, to get a particular result, which was either going to be favourable or non-favourable, unfavourable. We find the same with salespeople. Salespeople tend to work hard, and if they are good for, say, $300,000 worth of sales a year, and in the first 6 months they do $200,000 worth of sales because they've had a good run, they will still do $300,000 at the end of the year. They won't do $400,000 because their cybernetic mechanism says to them, no, you're not used to performing at this level. Pull it back a bit, control it, measure it, and manage it, and run it up to the finish line, back on 300K. It's so typical of the way most of us perform, and it's no different to losing weight. We want to release this weight, but we can't. We keep putting it back on. Why is that? Because we're running a paradigm in our head that's influencing our behavior, that's causing us to think in a particular way, which causes us to act in a particular way, causes us to behave in a particular way, and causes us to create results that we don't want. Then we see the results we don't want, we process those through our intellectual mind, and we go, my God, that's so horrible, that's no good, that's not what I want. And you're reinforcing this into the subconscious mind, and you get stuck in this closed loop. You follow me? Because that's what I'm trying to say. Buckminster Fuller said that if it's not working, then you need to create a new model. You know, make the old model obsolete, because you can't achieve something new based on the information you've already got, based on the paradigms you already run. The paradigms is the self-image that controls the vibrational state you're in. So unless you change the paradigm, you won't change the vibration. If you don't change the vibration, then you can't move yourself to a higher level of awareness that makes you permissible or able to achieve the things you want. Growth can only come from change. That goes without saying. So fundamentally, You ask yourself why you're not achieving the things you want. It's because you haven't changed. It's because you're running these programs, these systems, these behaviors that have kept you locked into a typical behavior. And if you think about it, your life could be really stereotyped very quickly, very easily. And you would realize that it's not going to change anytime soon, because that's what you've wanted to do for the last 5, 10 years, whatever it is. You realize that no matter how much you wanted it, it hasn't changed. If it did change, it changed for a short time, then went back. This is what most people do. They change, they force the change. They don't change the paradigm, they just change the behavior. And they do that until they can't stand it anymore. Then they give up and go, it's too hard, and then come back to where they were at, which is their comfort zone. I want you to build a picture of the thing in your mind that you want most. I want you to just take a moment, just close your eyes and just think about something you really, really want, something that's really near and dear, and something that's been avoiding you, but you have no idea how to get it. I just want you to think about that for a moment. I'm just going to put some music on for you. I'm going to run that for a few minutes, and then I'll come back, and I just want you to elaborate on that thought with me. Okay. So then we go into a quote from H.L. Hunt. Decide what you want, decide what you're willing to exchange for it, establish your priorities and get to work. That's really what we're saying. You've just had the thought, you've just had the idea, you've just created the concept. Now, let's go back to the stick person. So in order to explain strong discipline and clear direction, then you need to be fully aware that the information coming in is going to be determining the quality of your thinking. So if you're in a bad environment and you're constantly taking in bad energy, then it's going to be processed as best it can, but it'll still be bad energy. So you need to find a better place and a better way to get the information, whether it's through the internet, whether it's through books, whether it's through people, whether it's through social groups, whether it's networking, whatever it is, you need to find a better way to do it. And when you do that, you'll be able to achieve things that you never believed possible, because that's when the shift will take place. So as we look at this, we need to understand the information coming in is going to be indicative of the results that we get, because that's the quality of the thought that we're entertaining or indulging in. And that's what we're going to impress upon the subconscious mind. And that's what's ultimately going to give us the result that we want. Hopefully. There's no guarantee, but if we make a concerted effort to do that, chances are pretty good you'll get there or get very close to it. We've got to start living from the inside out, because most people live from the outside in. What do I mean by that? I mean that when we live from the outside in, then we're allowing our environment, our circumstances, and our experiences to influence the way we think and feel. But when we shift that and live from the inside out, it means we can have that information come in and we can process it. And as we said earlier, we can accept or reject it. And if we reject it, it means it's not going to serve us. It's not going to facilitate growth and development within us. If we keep it, then it's got to have some sort of positive and empowering concept about it and feature about it that we can then impress upon our subconscious mind, which will then allow us to become aware and able to develop new paradigms or new habit. We need to take clear and decisive action, because if you don't do that, then you'll fall back into this complacency. Remember we spoke about 4 levels of commitment? Complacency was the bottom level. It's like where you just accept what you've got. You accept your lot in life, you tolerate it, you accept it, you don't expect anything more. You whinge, you gripe, you carry on, or maybe you just happily accept it as being that's your lot in life when you don't need to. Because the point here is that if you don't want any more than what you've already got, then you don't need what I'm able to offer you, how I'm able to support you. So I'm totally respectful of that. But what I do want to offer you is package 1. Then I'm going to introduce you to package 2. But then you've also got an option for package 3. And these 3 options are going to give you the opportunity to start the process, to start your change, to start your transformation, to start your new level of accomplishment, to achieve the dreams you want, to start engaging your mind in a positive and empowering way like never before. And along with that, you're going to have my support and my action as an accountability partner to ensure that you continue on track, you stay on track, and every time you come off track, I'll nudge you back on track. So there's a lot to be gained from this and a lot to be considered. You want to change your life? Then make the commitment today. You don't want to make a change? Then I totally respect that, because you don't have to change a thing. And you might be happy with your situation right now. Even though you might be dissatisfied, you might be content to say, well, it's not as bad as going the other way, or I don't have to compromise anything. I don't have to lose anything. It'll all be based on your reasoning, and your reasoning is based on your paradigms. So if you don't want it, you don't have to have it. But if there's anything niggling inside of you saying, if I only had a bigger house or a nicer car or some money in the bank or a better relationship or whatever it is, then this is your opportunity to change that. You need to invest in yourself. You need to change your circumstances, change your thinking, and ultimately change your results. And that's what I'm willing to do for you. I'm willing to work with you over a period of 6 months, and I'm willing to engage your mind and teach you everything you need to know about altering your mindset, shifting your perspective, creating new understanding, achieving new goals, and demanding more from yourself than you ever have before. Because this is not a take you by the hand and lead you. This is like, you've got to do this. You've really got to earn your stripes. You've got to step up. So if you're not prepared to do that, then this is not for you. But if it's something you believe you want, and even if you're struggling to get there, talk to me about it, because I'll help you understand if you're ready now, because you may not be ready. But if you are, I can certainly take you to the next level. I want you to leave you with that thought, and I want you to consider what life would be if you just accepted some of these possibilities. And I want you to think about how a little shift in your perspective can create such a huge shift in your life. It can alter everything around you. It can give you the things you never believed you could have before. I want to thank you for your time, and I want to thank you for staying with me through this webinar. And I look forward to talking with you very soon. I'm Christopher Shaw. I'm wishing you continued success.